I'm Luke Andrews with Remax Premier Properties. I'm a real estate agent, leader, and investor, and I want to talk to you just a little bit today about brokerages and teams and some of the differences between them. First and foremost, why do brokerages even exist? For the most part, it has to do with some legal protection. Most of the states or the local real estate commissions either require that you go to work for a brokerage or that you be a broker yourself. And in some states, actually all of the agents are brokers. There's a lot of legal protection that goes along with that. Next, you've got some community benefits within brokerage. And when I say community, I mean really the people inside the brokerage. So I think it's really important to go out and find a brokerage that has like-minded people. A lot of agents who operate the same way you do, who think in a similar way that you do, similar values. It's a great way to get mentorship. It's a great place to get training. There are so many benefits that go along with a great brokerage other than just a place to hang your license. Now, why is mentorship and training important? Well, mentorship and training is important because especially as you're new in this business, you don't know what you don't know. This business can be very difficult at times. It's pretty simple, but it doesn't mean that it's easy. And so you need different points of view. You need different takes, different options on how to conduct this business because there's no real bad way to do it. And there's so many different ways to be successful, but you need to have a roadmap. You need to have a guide in place. And that's where the mentorship and the training from a brokerage comes in. So not only do they help keep you out of trouble, keep you out of real estate jail, as I tell my agents, but it helps make you more successful. It helps get you to more and more transactions, helping more and more clients. Some of the common benefits of brokerages, like we talked about, it's the mentorship, it's the training, it is the place to hang your license. Outside of that, there aren't a lot of commonalities between the brokerages because they all do it a little bit different. They all provide different levels of service, different levels of value to their agents. So it's super important to, especially as you're new in the business, to interview several to figure out where are you going to get the most value for yourself, where do you think you're going to grow the best, and where do you see yourself fitting in? One of the big questions I get is how different brokerages handle commissions. There's not really a standard or a common way. There's really three common ways that brokerages will handle commissions. First of all, there's some version of a split, meaning that as commissions come in, you'll take a percentage, the brokerage will take a percentage. And maybe that's a 90% to you, 10% to the brokerage. Could be 70-30, 60-40, even a 50-50 partnership. I've seen a few that are out there that only give 40% to the agent, but keep 60% to the brokerage. And yet they have a ton of agents in there because they provide so much value. Next is gonna be a flat fee. And there's kind of two ways that you can do the flat fees. Number one, it could just be a flat monthly fee. Maybe it's $500 per month, whether you sell 20 houses or whether you sell 0 houses. You're just paying that flat fee each month to the brokerage. It could also be a flat fee per transaction. Maybe every time you close a deal, it's $150. So that's kind of the flat fee option there. And then there are some brokerages that will do a combination of the two, where they're gonna take a fee each and every month or each and every year. And then they're also going to take a small percentage of your commissions as they come in for every deal that closes. You as an agent, there's all these different options and it's very difficult because sometimes it feels like you're comparing apples to oranges. How should you as an agent analyze these options based upon your own volume and abilities? What's really important is to know what your volume looks like or what it's anticipated to be and what your abilities are. Now that may be very, very difficult in the beginning as you're a new agent to really try and anticipate that. But that's where I think it's important to focus on brokerages that will provide you a little more value, even though they take a slightly higher fee. But you as an established agent, if you're looking at switching brokerages, you need to figure out, okay, how much business am I doing? Where is it coming from? What resources do I need from a brokerage? And then, kind of where is that break-even point for me as an individual agent? What value do brokerages bring? What can they bring to the table? Just like the commissions, it's all a little bit different. They all do it differently. But as I tell new agents, focus on the value, not on the split. So on the surface, a brokerage that's taking 20% and giving you 80 versus a brokerage that's doing a 50-50 split, it seems like a no-brainer to take the 80-20. But when you really start digging down, when you really start peeling back those layers, you might find that you're actually going to make more money, get more value, be happier, and have less stress by going with the 50-50 option because of everything that they're providing on the backside. Now, what are some examples of what they're providing? Maybe they're giving you, could be as simple as an email address, business cards, office space, It could be a transaction coordinator. They could be paying for your signs, your lock boxes, your CRM softwares, your offer writing softwares. They could be paying for your marketing expenses, your photos, your videos, all of those things that are the difference between a 50-50 and an 80-20. And when you really sit down and do the math, you may actually be coming out ahead by taking that 50-50 split because of everything that they bring. In addition, one of the key things that may or may not be there are how are leads handled? How are leads distributed? As a new agent especially, we can't always rely on our own sphere of influence. When I got into this business 7 years ago, I made the mistake of this assumption that as soon as I hung my shingle and I told everyone that I was going to be a real estate agent, that friends and family were just going to be beating down my door, asking me to come list their home, asking me to help them buy a new home. And it just wasn't the case, because even back then, everybody knew 5 agents and they had all been in the business longer than that. They all had more experience than I did. And so I had to go out. I really depended on leads. So I found a brokerage. I found a team that provided me with good, high quality leads. I interviewed another brokerage that was an 80-20 split, and the leads just weren't there. They did not provide any at all. And so by taking a lower split, by moving down to that 50-50, I actually made significantly more money, and my stress was significantly less because of all of the value that was provided on the backside. So that's why I talk about that joining a team in the beginning, especially to help learn and offset those expenses, is just such a phenomenal way to get started. It is a way that helps you get into this business and take some of the stress off of an already stressful situation, because you're looking at a business where you are commission only, and 30 to 45 days at best to where you're going to be getting your first paycheck, and expenses that are going to have to be paid out on the front side. By going through and having a team that's going to help ensure your success by not only providing leads, but also resources and mentorship, that can really take a lot of the pressure off and help you succeed and be one of that 5% of agents that in 5 years is still in the business, as opposed to the 95% that have left and have moved on to other things. So I know we've talked a lot about leads. How do leads on a team typically work? Well, again, this is going to be different from team to team. They do it a couple of different ways. It could be a round robin option. So what a round robin option is as a lead comes in, it goes to agent A. The next lead comes in, it goes to agent B. The next lead that comes in goes to agent C. And then the next lead, it starts back over with agent A, and they keep going down the line. It's kind of the luck of the draw. Agent A could get $1 million buyer when agent B could have somebody who's just looking to rent a $500 per month apartment. You never really know what you're gonna get in that system, but hey, leads are leads, right? Option number 2 is gonna be meritocracy based. So the best leads are given to the agents who are working the hardest, who have proven themselves, who have done the best so far. It's a great system, especially for those who have been very successful. The issue is sometimes it can be difficult to break into that system. And it's kind of like, hey, I need the experience to get the job, but I need the job to get the experience. It's the same way here. I need those leads in order to be able to get the experience to do well enough to be able to earn the meritocracy. But I can't get there without those leads. Third option is going to be what we call a lead pond, where all of the leads kind of go into one place, and then it's really on a first come, first served basis. Everybody, all of the agents are all fishing out of this pond. They're all trying to go out and trying to win and secure these leads. So it helps for those who are quick. It helps for those who are active in the lead pond, who are prospecting on a regular basis. These are all great options. It is a great way to foster competition. Now, if you are the type that doesn't necessarily like the competition, if you don't thrive in that kind of environment, that's definitely a question that you need to ask a team or a brokerage that you're interviewing. How are leads distributed? Because if you don't thrive in that competition-based market, then you won't necessarily thrive in a lead pond-based team. So you need to figure out how they distribute to make sure that you're going to be successful. So when you think about going to be an independent agent, let's say that you've gotten your license, you decide you don't want to be on a team, you want to go the independent route. Well, you need to make sure that you've got several months' expenses set aside. You need to make sure that you can sustain 30, 60, 90 days without a paycheck. You need to make sure that you have some lead sources secured so that you're able to hit the ground running and you can be as successful and productive as absolutely possible, as early as possible. Now, let's say that you've been in a brokerage for a little while, but you want to grow within the brokerage. You've started there, you feel like you're kind of at that ground level, but you want to continue to grow and advance. How do you negotiate within the brokerage? Well, first and foremost, you need to understand not only the value that the brokerage is bringing to you, you need to understand what value you're bringing to the brokerage. In order to be able to do that, you need to know your numbers. You need to know your numbers inside and out. You need to know how many transactions you've done, for what dollar amount, how much commission you've brought in, and where those transactions, what sources they come from. Because if it's all team-based leads, or if it's all brokerage-based leads, it's going to be very difficult for you to have any leverage when you're trying to negotiate a better split or more opportunities that are out there. So again, you need to know not just what value they're bringing to you or what they're not bringing to you, what are you bringing to them? And then so keeping track of everything, knowing where you are, will help put you in a more positive negotiating position. I've had numerous agents who have come to me after 18, 24, 36 months and said, hey, I'm ready to go out on my own. And I say, okay, well, let's talk about that. I think that's great. Tell me why you feel like you're ready. And then the number one thing I get is, I feel like I'm ready. I feel like the majority of my business is not coming from leads. I feel like I'm covering a lot of my own expenses. I feel like I would make more money if I were out on my own. Well, the issue is they haven't actually gone through and tracked their numbers. I have. I keep everything tracked. I keep it readily available. And so we can go through and we can start analyzing those numbers. And what I found is in the majority of cases, when they feel like they're self-generating 90% of their business, it's actually the exact opposite. They're actually self-generating about 10% of their business. So 90% of it is coming from the team. Now, there have been others where we've been very, very close to say, okay, you would have made the same amount if you were on a team versus not on a team, or maybe even potentially made just a little bit more. And so we go through and we start analyzing. I had an agent recently we did this exercise with. We looked and they would have actually made $10,000 more per year by being out on their own than if they were on a team. But to them, that $10,000 was not worth the headache, the insecurity, and all of the additional work and stress that comes along with being an independent agent. It's not as black and white of just looking at, okay, if I would have made $1 more, I would have been better going this route. It's about looking at the value as a whole, as opposed to just individual pieces. Now, sometimes it does actually make sense for an agent to go out on their own. And so what you want to have at that point is you want to have a brokerage that's supportive, one that's going to be honest with you when you're having those conversations, and one that is going to be willing to help you get to where you want to be as an agent, not where they want you to be as a brokerage. But again, all of this, when you're considering switching brokerages, staying with your brokerage, advancing within your brokerage, it all comes back to focusing on value. So what you need to do at this point is make sure, first and foremost, is knowing your numbers. You need to know where your business is coming from, exactly how much you're bringing in, exactly what value you're bringing to the brokerage, and exactly what they're bringing to you. And in order to be able to do that, you need to have some version of a tracking software. Again, I use Simba for mine, but make sure that you're out there, you're doing your research, and you find something that works well for you that's going to make you as successful as possible. Hopefully this was beneficial for you. Hopefully you got a good understanding of the difference between being on a team, being on a brokerage, and what different teams and brokerages look like, and then what to look for when you're considering either getting into the business or making a switch.